Well, hi there. Come on in, come on in. Welcome to my studio. Have a seat. I'm Stan Munslow, also known as the Guitar Dude. Anyway, it's great to have you here today. You're gonna love playing the guitar. I mean, can you think of a cooler instrument to play than this? I can't. The guitar is awesome. You can play anything on guitar. You can play notes. Okay, you can play chords. You can play old music, new music. You can play alone or with other people. You can even sing while you play. Try that with a trumpet. Actually, don't. Okay, you can play anything. So you absolutely made a great choice in choosing the guitar. Now remember, if anything that I say or play doesn't make sense right away, the great thing about online lessons is you can just back up the video and try it again until it does. You will get it. Anybody can play the guitar, and that includes you. Sure, they'll be challenging sometimes, but don't forget, challenge is what makes things great. Okay, now, today you're going to learn 3 things. You're going to learn 3 things. Okay, first, you're going to learn how to read music. It's not that hard. Second, I'll show you how to hold the guitar and the pick. And third, you're going to learn your first 3 notes. So you ready to get started? Great, so am I. Okay, we're going to talk about reading music first. And for that, you're going to need the 3 sheets that you should have printed out for today's class. Now, if you don't have these sheets ready, or if they're not printed yet, just pause the video here and take care of that, and then I'll be here when you get back. Okay, you're back. So we're going to talk about reading music. Now you want to look at page 1, the one that's titled, How to Read Music. And if you look at the top of that sheet, the first thing you see are 5 lines. And those 5 lines are called a staff. Now a staff is just a place to put notes. You can put notes on the lines or on the spaces in between. But before we talk about the notes, I want you to take a look at that little squiggly looking guy at the beginning of the line first. Now that's called a treble clef. Treble clef. Some people call it a G clef. Most musicians call it a treble clef. And the word treble just means high notes. I mean, on the guitar, your notes are going to be higher than, say, a tuba, bump, bom. Okay, guitar goes higher than that, like most instruments do. So the treble clef simply means that you can play this music. That's all it is. Now we'll talk about the notes. The notes in music get their names from the first 7 letters of the alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. There is no H. Now all instruments can play more than 7 notes. So what do you think happens then when we get to G? That's right, you just start over again with A. The first thing we need to figure out is which note goes where on the staff. Okay? Now remember, I said you can put notes on lines or spaces. So we'll talk about the lines first. And as you can see on your paper, the notes on the lines, if you count from the bottom, are E, G, B, D, and F. And an easy way to remember that is to just say this sentence. Empty garbage before Dad flips. Okay? E, G, B, D, F. Now the spaces are even easier because there's only 4 spaces. And they are F, A, C, and E, which spells face. Okay? So if you can remember empty garbage before Dad flips for the lines, and face, F-A-C-E, for the spaces, then you'll know where the notes are on the staff. Now I know you don't know where they are on the guitar yet. We're going to talk about that shortly, but at least you'll be able to read them, and that's a great start. But you know, there's a little more to it. It's not just where the note goes. The other thing you have to know about is that notes have different shapes. And the reason they have different shapes is to tell you how long they last. Okay? Now, if you look at where it says notes, the first one you see is called a whole note. Now, I don't mean like a hole you fall into, okay? I mean whole like a whole pizza. And let's say that that pizza is cut into 4 slices. A whole note gets 4 beats. Now, when I say beats, what I'm talking about is tapping your foot, okay? So when you see a whole note, you would hit the note and you would tap your foot 4 times. So listen to this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all there is to it, okay? Now the next one is called a half note. Now a half note, you see how it has a line sticking up or down from the note? That line is called a stem, like the stem of a flower. And it doesn't matter whether the line goes up or down, it makes no difference. But a half note, well, if a whole note gets 4 beats, a half note gets 2. Okay, so they're a little quicker, they're a little more interesting, such as 1, 2, 1, 2. But we need something a little better. We need something that moves a little more. So you see the next note, those are called quarter notes. All right, they're colored in solid. Each quarter note just gets 1 beat. So every time you tap your foot, you play a note. Okay? So it's kind of like walking, you know. You've got step, step, note, note, pick, pick, beat, beat. Okay? So they're moving a little bit more. They're a little busier. So you're going to see more quarter notes than any others. Okay? Now, the last one you see, dotted half notes, we'll be discussing in a later lesson. So you just need those first 3. And underneath, where you see rests, that also will be talked about at a later lesson. So you just need to know the whole notes, the half notes, and the quarter notes for today. In fact, the only other thing you need to know on this first page for today is underneath that, where it says measures. Measures are also called bars. Now, a measure is simply a piece of the staff. You know, the staff is divided up into separate sections. Each of those sections is a measure. And a measure is like a beat holder. A measure holds 4 beats. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the measure has 4 notes, just 4 beats of notes. Okay? So in that first example, you see where there's just 1 whole note. Okay? So you would hit that note once, and that is your 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all the measure can hold. That's why they call it a whole note, because it takes up a whole measure or a whole bar. But in the next example, see there are 2 half notes there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like that. So there could be any combination of notes as long as it equals 4 beats. And you can see in that last example, there's a solid quarter note, that's 1, followed by a half note, that's 2 more, and then 1 more solid quarter note, 1 more beat. 1 plus 2 plus 1. There's your 4 beats again, like this. 1, 1, 2, 1. And there's your 4 beats. So having the measures dividing up the staff like that does 2 things. First of all, it helps you to keep your place by having everything in little sections. It's like when you read in a book and you have periods to separate your sentences. So a measure separates the music to help you. And later, as you get better, you'll also find that having measures also helps the music to feel better. And you'll discover that the more you play.